What's up, guys? Bang, bang. This video is brought to you by PrimeXBT. They are a crypto trading platform that has an excellent award-winning environment for margin trading. If you want to go check out their crypto trading, be sure to check out their copy trading module, which allows you to replicate the trades of the most successful traders with a proven track record. If you're interested, you can register with the link below and you can get a 50% deposit bonus. Go check them out at PrimeXBT, and let's get into this interview. All right, guys, bang, bang. I've got a very special guest today. I've got Simon here with me. Thank you so much for doing this, sir.
Thank you, Pomp. Super excited to be here.
For sure. Let's just jump right into your background. You've got a very unique perspective on the world. So kind of help everyone understand, where did you grow up? And then kind of what have you done over the years before you started Valiu?
Of course. So I guess I can start by saying that I am a migrant. Right now, I live in Colombia, but I was born in Venezuela. And due to the economic collapse and hyperinflation in the country, I decided to migrate from a very early age. Everything that Venezuelans, families, and my family built was lost. And so for me, the solution of crypto and what it brings to the table is something personal. I migrated to Spain to play soccer from a very early age. I played for Real Madrid. And then I did industrial design in the United States. So that was my second migration. And in 2014, I fell down the crypto rabbit hole. Essentially, right after I graduated from college, I found about Ethereum. Then quickly I found about crypto. And then I started figuring out what I wanted to do with cryptocurrencies in Latin America, especially in Venezuela, because of the potential impact to solve hyperinflation and solve these problems. And now I'm living in Colombia. So that's a little bit about me. In general, I love building companies and getting a lot of people together to solve large problems. So I think crypto falls into that category.
Talk a little bit just about, as a kid, the hyperinflation and kind of the collapse of the Venezuelan society and government. Kind of what was your experience there, and any specific stories that kind of stand out to you to really highlight this for folks?
Sure. I guess I can, tell you a little bit of an analogy. When we were growing up, the government multiple times, because of this hyperinflation, which means everything was just getting more expensive. You guys in the United States are experiencing a little bit of that right now. It's really hard to know what's the inflation rate because the Federal Reserve potentially won't release the real numbers. But everybody tells me that life is just getting way more expensive in the US. So if you're holding your currency in the local fiat, in the local currency issued by the government, then you're just becoming poorer, right? Cash poor. In Venezuela, that became hyperinflation, which means that money loses value at a ridiculous rate. In January, for example, we had 1,000%. January of 2021, we had 1,000% hyperinflation. And if we look at it in past 20 years, we've just had ridiculous numbers of inflation, which means, going back to the analogy, when we were growing up, the government used to take out zeros from the currency because the numbers were just getting super large. So today, a dollar, an American dollar, is worth like 1 million bolivars. But if we add the zeros that the government has taken out, one US dollar is about 1 trillion, over 1 trillion bolivars. So as you can imagine, cash bills couldn't keep up with this hyperinflation, and now cash is worthless. I could literally burn, I could take a full paper wall of bills of Venezuela and burn them, and I wouldn't care. Cash is exactly worthless. So a lot of the people in the crypto space may have seen that people in Venezuela use the cash bills to build or to do art, or to do like purses, because the purse that you make out of these bills is more has more value than the actual money. So those are just some of the examples and analogies I can bring to the table. But growing up in a country like that, where 50% inflation happens in a day, where you go in the morning to buy milk, and then you go out in the afternoon and the milk is twice as expensive, you really become, I guess, financially savvy on how to survive, right? How to survive in a country like that. And everybody in Venezuela became somewhat financially savvy, from people that are cash poor to rich people. And that just generated as well my huge migration, mismanagement of the country that is not only monetary, is also from an executive perspective. There's no food. There were food shortages back in the day, mismanagement of the energy systems, so bad internet, and people started migrating, and businesses started to go broke. And now we came from being potentially one of the richest countries in resources in the world, and one of the richest countries in Latin America, to the poorest country in Latin America, even poorer than Haiti. So really, really big, drastic change.
Talk a little bit about before Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. What were people doing when you became financially savvy? What were they doing to protect their wealth or their purchasing power?
So people were basically buying stuff, buying assets that were trying to not hold their money in the Venezuelan bolivar. So, back in the day when this was happening, people would, turn into buying real estate, or buying, or just spending it in like restaurants, or storing a bunch of food, and then trading this food. So even barter became something, not at a super large scale, but people started to barter, things. And so communities got together to buy, for example, water for the buildings. And then you would buy one of those large trucks of water once, like to spend all the bolivars as much as you can, and you just hold your money in water, I guess. And so that became the norm. Just putting your money in things that were less liquid, I guess, and food and things like that. And some of the other people were starting to buy things like gold. And then when Bitcoin became something, when Bitcoin became like more well known, especially with local Bitcoins, which is a peer-to-peer trading market. College students started to getting to understand it and grasp the concept of storing your money in Bitcoin. I think that was in the 2017, even before the 2017 bubble. And then these students got so excited, and these young people got so excited that they started teaching their grandmothers and their grandfathers and their parents about it. Some of them got it, some of them didn't, but the whole country knew about it, at least understood that there was this alternative digital currency, internet money, magical internet money that people could use to hold their value instead of the local currency. And that's from a very basic perspective. From a more financially savvy perspective, the amount of financial engineering and financial loopholes that richer, more educated people could find was ridiculous. Some people, for example, started asking credits from the banks in the local currency and buying an apartment in Manhattan, and then paying that credit in Venezuelan bolivars over 10 years, 15 years. And they would buy an apartment in Manhattan for like the equivalent of $1,000 or less. And so that's definitely corruption in some way. But I have heard of people that did this, and that's just kind of like something that I wanted to share. As you can imagine, if that's one thing that you can do in a hyperinflationary economy, there's so many things you can do to hack the system and to get away with that.
Absolutely. And so let's talk a little bit about what you're building with Value. I'm an investor in the business. I think that this is a really, really unique type of solution and one that's gaining market adoption. But just talk through kind of the impetus for the idea and kind of what you guys have built so far.
Yeah. So one of the things I would like to start with the problem, right? The what we are potentially solving hyperinflation and rampant inflation, and even we can potentially save Venezuela. So if value, um, if everybody in Latin America puts their money into value, we think that we have virtually solved the largest problem in the region. And value is essentially as a simple dollar account for Latin Americans that allow people to save money in dollars, in crypto dollars, and send remittances or international money transfers between themselves for free at no cost and immediately. So it's just an app, a mobile app, and where people can connect their bank or pay with cash in more than 30,000 locations in Colombia. People in Venezuela can connect their banks because Venezuela, because of the hyperinflation, is fully banked. It's a country that has where even more than the United States, people have a bank account. So if you're in Venezuela, if you're in Colombia, you can turn your fiat, your Venezuelan bolivars or your Colombian pesos into crypto dollars. You can then send them for free and immediately between anybody between these two countries. And people can also, use it for saving and protecting their assets from the hyperinflationary economy in Venezuela and from the depreciative economy in Colombia, which is, while it's not hyperinflation, in Colombia over the past, for example, 5 years, the currency has lost about 30% of its value or more against the dollar. So this is a solution that, while the initial focus is for Venezuelans, both that are still living in Venezuela and migrants across the world, this is a solution that may help any other population in Latin America, and help them have more financial prosperity. Whether you're a farmer in the middle of Venezuela or a banker in the city, you can access dollars and make money every day because your money in value dollars is appreciating against the local fiat.
Talk a little bit just how you're technically doing this.
Yeah, so we use a combination of crypto, and I would like to say that we are extremely pragmatic. I love crypto. I love blockchain. I love the potential that it has. The transparency, the permissionless multi-signature accounts that people can actually, hold their keys and be their own bank in a way. But the reality is that in Latin America, specifically in emerging markets, people do not have the tools, the education to understand this. So they are really demanding for very simple stuff like, is it safe? Is it like, is my money going to be in dollars, essentially, because the dollar is the current kind of like store of value that and most people in the world think is the best. Still, Bitcoin hasn't still gotten there, but over time, our strategy is that initially we're going to give people what they want. But very simple products built on top of crypto. But over time, as we increase our user base, we're going to give them Bitcoin and we're going to give them multi-signature non-custodial accounts. But that is not the right time just yet. So the way we do this, I wanted to give that initial kind of like explanation because we have an IOU initially. An IOU because it allows us to do these free immediate transfers, which is one of the ways we essentially acquire users and promote that we're effectively killing the remittance business by helping people transfer money between countries at no cost, and potentially acquiring all these Western Union users. So it's an IOU, which means that it's essentially a centralized accounting system that is mirroring crypto that we have custodied in places like Circle and other places. And so we back the value dollar, which is an IOU, with 1-to-1 with other stablecoins. And the way we on-ramp is through Bitcoin. So initially when we started, it was all Bitcoin. We were offering fiat to fiat remittances, and we were buying Bitcoin in the country of the sender. And then we were selling the Bitcoin in the country of the recipient to get the fiat and send it to their bank account. In Venezuela, like I mentioned, everybody has a bank account. So, so when you do the off-ramp in Venezuela, you pay directly to their banks. And we do that in a peer-to-peer fashion, in decentralized fashion of sorts, by doing it in peer-to-peer exchanges. And so we never touch the Venezuelan banking system because we don't want to do that, because Venezuela is a dictatorship. And so we effectively can hack the system through these peer-to-peer systems, exchanges, and that's how we off-ramp. And it was all going through Bitcoin. So our main goal at the time was really to how do we manage our treasury, and how do we protect ourselves from the risk of having Bitcoin for this period of time. So we started playing around with hedging and futures. And then we found that we could effectively create a synthetic exposure to the dollar through doing Bitcoin futures trading and derivatives trading. So at that time, we said, all right, let's offer dollars to people, or let's offer a synthetic dollar that is backed in Bitcoin derivatives. And we recently changed that because we were holding that in BitMEX. And with everything that happened recently, it definitely showed that this is a risk. In the end, it's not that we're actually custodying these assets ourselves. This money is locked in these third-party exchanges. So we finally made the decision to back the value dollar with stablecoins. And this is all I can say right now, but we are working ourselves in building our own blockchain and our own token, because one of the most important things is to, over time, make this censorship resistant. It's really, really important that this is censorship resistant. And one of the best ways to do this is by making the value dollar not an IOU, actually creating a token, and then building it in our own blockchain, and over time giving people with really good UX a way for them to hold their keys.
Talk a little bit about the market adoption so far, right? So where are you seeing people using this? How is it going in terms of the amount of transactions, or just like any data that you could share around, do people want this and are they using it?
Yeah. So, we launched 15 months ago in October of 2019. And in 2020, we grew 10x. We went from 3,000 monthly active users to 30,000 monthly active users and a lot of it was organic growth. The reality is that this is a matter of life or death for some people, right? Like accessing dollars or stronger currencies in a place that is hyperinflationary, or even in Colombia. In general, in Latin America, it's really hard to access dollars. And specifically in Venezuela, it's a life or death thing. So, so being such an intense need, what we're offering for people, it's really, really important. And right now we have, since we launched, about 80,000 people have used our products, about 30,000 monthly active retained. We have moved about $9 million from Colombia to Venezuela. And we're talking about like low income migrants, right? So super, super important. Effectively have potentially helped about 200,000 or even more households in Venezuela access the stability of the dollar. And over time, what we're going to continue to do is, like I mentioned, make it more censorship resistant, making it more decentralized, educating people on the advantages of these technologies, and working with merchants so that the product, is used for payments, essentially closing the pipe, I would say. Today, most people have to cash out into the Bolivar, into the local fiat to pay, because crypto, mostly anywhere in the world, is still not used as a medium of payment. But in Venezuela, given the situation of hyperinflation, everybody's looking for something else to accept payments. The trust barrier for crypto is is way lower than anywhere in the world, I would say. So we're going to be launching QR payments soon, and we're going to be focusing on opening these merchant accounts so that commerces can accept payments in Valiu dollars. And that's definitely going to be an important moment for us to, as a company, to create more impact, to onboard more users. We recently enabled cash-ins in Venezuela, so which I believe is the most important thing we've accomplished as a company, right? Effectively helping people turn their hyperinflationary currency into dollar in Venezuela. Back in the day, the only way they could access this was through their family members in Colombia sending them remittances. But now they can actually, cash in Venezuela. And so that's effectively what we have done so far, how many people are using it, and what's also interesting is that through the Venezuelan use case, which is this diaspora that has left the country to Colombia, Peru, virtually every country in Latin America, the United States, Spain, we can expand to all these other places, all these other regions, build the on and off ramps for them, for the Venezuelan migrants. And then once we have these on and off ramps, then this is a product that also works for the local populations of Colombia, Brazil, Peru, Mexico. So the Venezuelan use case is really, really strategic.
And so when you think through, kind of just Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, value dollars in South and Central America, is this something where you think that, we're going to eventually replace the legacy fiat currencies with these new digital currencies, or will there still be coexistence? It'll just be like the fiat ones are really bad at doing what they're supposed to do. The digital ones are better, but the digital ones don't necessarily knock off or kill the fiat currencies.
Yeah, I think time will tell. Our bet and the reason why we started Valiu down here in Latin America and emerging markets is first because Latin Americans love the US dollar, and stable coins, have this, mirror value to the dollar. And it's a good kind of like gateway drug into cryptocurrencies, I guess, for most people. These are stable coins. And over time, hopefully, things like Bitcoin take over as well. But I do think that, well, time will tell. Latin American emerging economies are the places that are more prone to be for the system to be replaced by crypto, because the chaos and the impact of a financial crisis down here in emerging markets in general, it's really, really, really large. From a macroeconomic perspective, not only we have hyperinflationary currencies in economies, but we also have, like I was mentioning, the depreciated economies, which means that we import a lot of things. We only produce primary commodities like petroleum, which is now less in need from first world countries. We haven't made the investments in education and all these things. So over time, a crisis down here will just prove the system to be way more ineffective. And specifically in countries like Venezuela, like I was mentioning. If I truly believe that Venezuela can become the first crypto economy in the world. And if the political, if the government changes and the power changes hands in Venezuela, which time will tell, I can tell you that the good guys that we know them are pro crypto, are pro building, because we're actually seeing the effects of actually airdropping money to Venezuelan teachers and medical workers through crypto. And this is being led by the opposition, by the good guys. So they already actually seeing this potential that it has of overcoming centralized authoritarian regimes. So I truly believe in 10 years we'll potentially have the first crypto economy, hopefully down here in South America, and hopefully that spreads throughout the region.
Talk a little bit about the education of the population. So the technology, obviously, we've talked a little bit about in terms of how that's evolving and how far along it is. What about the actual knowledge of the people to know that this is a better system, that there's very simple ways to use it, and to basically just get them up to speed so that they feel comfortable using the technology? What do you see happening there? And are there any areas that would surprise people?
Yeah, I think education is the most important thing, for sure. And it doesn't have to be boring education. It doesn't have to be long information and papers about how money works and how crypto is better. I think education starts by building great products, and then teaching people the features that these products are giving them. And so it has to be embedded in the product itself. It's not that you have to teach people how to use it, because then you have a shitty product. You have to really build great products, but you can also take advantage of these opportunities to quickly hint and show them why this is better. And this is a really important challenge and a big challenge to solve. And I think that is, apart from a few other things like on and off ramps, fiat on and off ramps, the key for crypto mainstream adoption is education, for sure.
Got it. What do you think is the biggest risk or the thing that you're most worried about when it comes to adoption in South and Central America?
We continue to have, I guess this is not only for Central America and South America, we continue to have democracies, right? And I think democracy has failed as a political system. It's a system where you have parties where people are divided, where you make a career of being a politician instead of actually. But everybody should be a politician to work for the people. So the democracy system, and I can keep on talking about this, but I'm not going to get into that rabbit hole. But the democracy has failed, in my opinion, and so that means that power is so centralized, and we are so dependent for crypto to be successful on politicians that that worries me across the board, even in the United States, and so. I think that unless we move really fast as an industry, unless we really stay true to our values, because we're seeing more and more companies enter the space, more and more people enter the space recently, and but most of these people haven't been in the space since the early days, and they haven't been here because of why crypto is better. There might be a lot of people just trying to make a buck or make money by building a company in the space, but and these might be successful companies. So that's when it really becomes scary for me. I really think that the good guys in the industry, the people that are working on decentralized systems, fully decentralized, on non-custodial accounts, on privacy, these are the people that have to win. Us at Valiu, we're learning every day, and we're making our best to pragmatically first acquire the users and then help them transition into this new, more sovereign systems and these new better systems. So I think those are the two things that worry me most: the political dependency and which are the companies that are going to actually lead the way in the space.
Got it. And so when you think through kind of where this is all going, right? Let's zoom out and look forward 10 years. How do you view Valiu 10 years from now, and kind of what would be the milestone of success, or kind of the maybe not finish line, but kind of the thing that you're aiming at? What does that world look like a decade out?
So, contrary to what most people think, I think the crypto space has a really unique characteristic where this is not going to be a winner takes all type of industry. The reason is exactly because of what I just mentioned, the regulatory hurdles. These regulatory and compliance hurdles will mean that there will be silos of companies that will target specific regions. And so for Value, I think what the most important thing for us is dominating Latin America, and helping Latin Americans transition into crypto, and into dollar accounts, and then into Bitcoin. So 10 years from now, we hope to be dominating Latin America from that perspective, and then connecting Latin America to the rest of the world. Because if we imagine a world where we have these silos of companies that are in different regions and they're all working in blockchain and in crypto, the interoperability, I'm sure in 10 years we'll have interoperability with cryptos and blockchains. It'll be just a more global, financial system. So that's where I see value in 10 years, very, very, very much focused in Latin America and connecting Latin America to the rest of the world.
On that path, what are the data points, not necessarily the numbers you're trying to achieve, but just what are the data points you think will be most important for you inside of Value, or for folks who are interested in the crypto markets in general to pay attention to? Is it number of users, transactions, exchange traded volume, price? What do you think is the most important things there?
I do believe is two things: assets under management for the companies that are in the space. So the amount of crypto, I would say crypto under management, which means effectively that people are holding their crypto, and that if they're paying with crypto, they're paying to other people, but the crypto is not leaving back into fiat. So if we see that growing, that trend growing over time, that's going to mean, the crypto is actually overthrowing fiat, and that is being successful. Secondly, which goes hand in hand with that, is the cash-ins, so on-ramps. Effectively, the amount of people turning their fiat into crypto through cash-ins. And I think those two things are definitely going to be really, really important. And of course, we're talking about, like any company, market share. In terms of users, we have about, I believe, about 600 million people in Latin America. And half of them are unbanked yet, which is really also an awesome opportunity for crypto. And so, the fact that anybody with an internet connection and a smartphone can have their own money and don't go through the banking system, I think that's a really, really important kind of development for the region. And I would say those are the three things: amount of users, compared to the market, cash-ins, and crypto under management.
Yeah, those are three definitely great ones. Before we wrap up, I always ask everyone the same two questions. The first question is, what is the most important book that you've ever read?
The most important book? Oh, man. I have to say that I became less of a fan of business books over time. Following very much what Naval says, I figured that a lot of these concepts, I can learn them from YouTube videos and things like that. However, I can tell you that one book that I really enjoyed, and this is not related to crypto, it's actually related to company building, is The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. If you're a CEO or a founder, even in the early days, a lot of this advice is for when you're actually starting to scale up. But even from the early days, if you read that, I think it's super, super valuable. And of course, for people that are interested in crypto, read the Bitcoin white paper.
I think that's a great piece of advice. The second is a question brought by our friends at 8 Sleep. They've got a thermoregulation bed, so it makes it very cold for you to go to sleep, get deeper sleep. I sleep with it every night. I love it. What is your sleep schedule? I used to be one of these people who didn't sleep at all, and now I sleep like a little baby. I'm a convert to the sleep religion, if you will. What is your sleep schedule every day?
I sleep like clockwork at 11 p.m. Sometimes I 11:30 p.m. And then I wake up at 6 a.m., 6:30. So I usually sleep 7 hours. It works for me so far. Over time, I have seen that the older I get, I need less sleep. Or I wake up, rested after less time. I do value sleep a lot, and I value, habits. For me, my schedule is extremely strict. So that's a little bit of my sleep schedule.
I love it. In terms of the third question, it's a little bit more fun. Aliens, are you a believer or a non-believer?
I'm a believer. I'm a believer. I don't know if we have any contact with aliens, but from a math, just from math perspective and what we know so far from the universe, it's very unlikely that there's no aliens. So, yeah.
I think they're out there, man. We'll see. I think they're there somewhere, but I don't know if we're ever going to run into them. That's for sure.
Yeah.
You could ask me one question to wrap up. What is the one question you have for me?
Man, how the hell do you create so much content?
Listen, I'm learning, right? And this is the third podcast that I'm recording today, and I basically have sat here for a number of hours, and I'm just learning. I get asked all these questions, and it's pretty crazy. Like the way I look at it is, I get to sit here 2 days a week, so Wednesdays and Thursdays normally in the afternoon, and I just have people come on and they tell me everything that they know. Right? They tell me all the secrets. They tell me all of their insights. And so that helps from a podcast standpoint. And then the
Yeah.
rest of the stuff is I just kind of live my life on the internet, right? It's when I think of something, I say it. I got something to respond to somebody, I respond. I just kind of everything I do, I have no things that aren't on the internet. And what it does is it allows me to kind of put out like the bat light, if you will, right? You remember when Batman would put it up in the sky? It's the same thing. People know what I'm into, what I want to learn about, the type of people I'm looking for. And so I just use the internet to my advantage. And part of that is creating content. So I'm having a blast, and I'll keep doing it until at some point I'll probably get tired. And then one day I'll just wake up and I'll disappear off the internet.
Yeah. I asked that because I'm starting to focus on creating more content for Spanish speaking people. And running a company, that's not my priority. So I'm trying to figure out how do I optimize for that.
You're tweeting in Spanish more, right?
I'm gonna be starting. I'm starting to do that, and I'm gonna continue to do that more and more, both in Spanish and English, but definitely with the focus of helping spread the education and educate people in Latin America about money, why crypto is money, the problems with the fiat infrastructure and all that. So making it bite-sized, abstracting complexity, it's really, really important.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's obviously very clear that if you're able to take what is kind of all the ideas and analysis that's in English and get it into Spanish, and really help people in kind of the part of the world that literally they just can't understand it, right? It's just in a different language. It's if you can kind of bridge that divide, because it goes both ways, right? People in the United States, they don't know what's going on in South and Central America because they don't speak the language. And so I think that by bridging that divide would be fantastic. So please, please, please keep doing that.
Yeah, I will. I will.
Where can we send people to find you on the internet or find Value?
So you can find me at Twitter at Simon Valiu. Value is Valiu, like Valium, like a drug, but without the M. So Simon Valiu in Twitter. I don't have Instagram yet, or Facebook. So, and you can follow Value as well at Value Co or Value.com for Spanish speaking people in Twitter. And if you have a Spanish speaking people, listeners that are in Colombia or Venezuela want to try our product, just go to the App Store or Google Play and type Value, and you will find it right away.
Amazing. Listen, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this. I know you're very busy, and we got a company to build. So keep going. I think that it's a no-brainer in terms of providing the solution to people in South and Central America. So I'm excited to be part of the journey, and just really proud of all the work you've done. So we'll have to do it again in the future.
Awesome. Thank you, Pomp. Take care, man.